Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my 2022 fantasy football running back rankings for best ball. Inside of today's video, I'll be going in depth into my top 20 ranked running backs, as well as explaining as to why I have them ranked at each and every single spot inside of the top 20. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my top 20 ranked running backs for the 2022 best ball fantasy football season. If you guys don't know what best ball is, basically the difference between best ball and redraft is that in redraft fantasy football leagues, you draft your team, and then you can make changes. You can trade for players, you can cut players, pick them up off the waiver wire. Here, you just draft them, and you forget it. The computer automatically puts the best players in your lineup. You don't even have to adjust your lineup. Basically, you draft it and you forget it. Whereas in redraft, you draft the team. Again, you can make the trades, you can do waiver wire things, and you have to adjust your lineup to get the optimal lineup. Whereas in best ball, it just does that all for you. If you guys do want to sign up on Underdog, which is my favorite place to play best ball, you can make sure you use promo code AWESOMO for a $100 first deposit match bonus. So let's get on into the video. Again, if you don't play best ball, this video, the rankings for the running back position, the wide receiver position, quarterback, tight end, all of the rankings videos that I'm going to be doing are going to be very similar to what I would do in a normal redraft league. So we're going to begin at number 1 at the running back position, and that is going to be Jonathan Taylor, running back of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I feel as though this year it is very wide open as to who the number 1 overall pick is. Maybe not super wide open, but I think in every league, you're not just going to see one player go off at the number 1 overall spot. Like last year, if you remember, Christian McCaffrey was the number 1 overall pick, the number 1 running back off the board in basically every single league. If you were to do 100 drafts last year, I bet you 97 of them, or 95 to 97 of them, would have had Christian McCaffrey go number 1 overall. Now, we all know how things went for Christian McCaffrey last year. We're going to be talking about him in today's video. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that if everyone's doing something at number 1 overall, that you have to just continue with the public and hop on that standpoint. I was very much in favor of Christian McCaffrey last year, so if you drafted him number 1 overall, you don't have to feel like some type of a fucking idiot, right? Because the guy ended up getting hurt. But this year, I think there's going to be maybe a couple of players who get drafted number 1 overall if you were to do 100 drafts. So at number 1, I have Jonathan Taylor, and I think a lot of people are going to also potentially have Derrick Henry as the number 1 overall running back off the board. We will be discussing both of them, obviously, as they're my number 1 running back and my number 2 running back. So Jonathan Taylor, in 2021, in his sophomore season, played in 17 games, finishing as the number 1 running back in half PPR and the number 2 running back in half PPR points per game. Half PPR is the scoring format that Underdog Fantasy uses, which is why we will use it in today's video. And I think a lot of normal redraft fantasy football leagues also are half PPR at this point. So he had 332 carries last season, 19.5 per game, ranking number 1 at the running back position, 1,811 rushing yards, 106.5 per game, ranking number 1 at running back, 53 targets, 17th at running back, 40 receptions, 21st at running back, 360 receiving yards, 21.2 per game, ranking 13th at running back, and 20 total touchdowns, number 1 at the running back position. Jonathan Taylor was fucking fantastic last year, despite the fact that Carson Wentz was never really this great quarterback. A lot of people really expected last season that Carson Wentz was going to be the fire was going to light under his ass, that he was going to potentially become a better version of Carson Wentz, because in 2020, if you guys remember, Carson Wentz was a complete and utter dumpster fire. In 2021, he wasn't a dumpster fire, right? He was just about all right, but he's not a quarterback that I would love to be the quarterback of my NFL team. I got Tua as the Dolphins quarterback, my favorite team, but now the Indianapolis Colts don't have him. He's gone. He's on the Washington football team, the Commanders. So now Indianapolis's quarterback situation is definitely up in the air. Could it be Baker Mayfield? Could it be some other quarterback? And to be honest with you, I don't really think it matters at all because Jonathan Taylor was able to perform with a very average quarterback in Carson Wentz, and he is just a focal point on this team. Now, I don't really believe we are ever going to be seeing Jonathan Taylor put up some crazy receiving numbers like Christian McCaffrey, right, where this guy is seeing 80, 90, 100 plus targets on the season, right? Maybe he gets a bump from 53 to 65, and that would be all fine and dandy, but I just don't expect him to be like Austin Eckler, like Najee Harris, like Alvin Kamara, one of these running backs that's just seeing so many receptions. And a lot of the perception around a fantasy football running back and around fantasy football as a whole in half PPR, full PPR leagues is that you need guys that get a million catches. But when you have a running back as talented as Jonathan Taylor that is able to just run motherfuckers over, that is just able to make any play, even when the play looks bad, he gets the ball, there's like 2 defenders on his face instantly. He's able to escape those scenarios. So I love Jonathan Taylor in 2022. Again, he's going to probably be the number 1 overall pick, I would say in probably 60% of leagues. But it's not as locked and loaded as last year with Christian McCaffrey being the number 1 overall pick in every single draft I did. At number 2, we got Mr. Derrick Henry, running back of the Tennessee Titans in 2021. He only played in 8 games because he ended up getting hurt, and then we saw him return in the playoffs for the Tennessee Titans. But again, remember, this man played in 8 games. Normally, 8 games is half the season. No, that's less than half the season now because 17 games is how many games are played. So he was running back 16 in 8 games and was the running back number 1 in half PPR points per game. The reason why I bring up the points per game number is because this just shows how valuable Derrick Henry was when he was on the field. 219 carries, was number 10 at running back, 27.4 carries per game. Jonathan Taylor had 19.5. This man almost had 10 more, 27.4. 937 rushing yards, 117 per game, 9th at running back. Jonathan Taylor had 106.5 per game, 20 targets, 2.5 per game, 18 receptions. That is just not a number that I even see increasing by all that much either. Now, maybe we could see Derrick Henry, technically, I guess, maybe 40 targets next year, right? Because you just double the numbers, maybe 45 targets, something like that. But Derrick Henry's not a running back that you're going to expect to get those Austin Eckler numbers. He's pretty similar to Jonathan Taylor, although I would like to add that I really do believe Jonathan Taylor is a much better pass-catching running back. I just don't feel as though he is going to be sprinkled the targets. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor and Henry. They just aren't guys that are going to be seeing a million targets. That just doesn't make too much sense. It does for Jonathan Taylor, actually. That's a lie. But for Derrick Henry, the guy kind of has fucking stone hands. 18 receptions, 10 total touchdowns, 8th at running back. So Derrick Henry, when healthy, was carrying your fucking fantasy team. You were like Yoda, and he was Anakin Skywalker. You know when Yoda's on Luke Skywalker's back? Sorry about that. I don't know why I said Anakin Skywalker. That's Darth Vader, as you know, if you watch Star Wars. So he basically put your fucking team on his back, single-handedly. This guy was carrying your fantasy team, and then he gets hurt. He's out for the season. But those first 8 games, he was nice with it. And if he's able to stay healthy in 2022, he could easily be the best player in fantasy football, which is why I think there should be a debate between Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. It shouldn't just be locked and loaded that you pick Jonathan Taylor every single time at number 1 overall. Moving to number 3, we probably have who is my favorite running back in the NFL, and that is Mr. Clean himself, the bald man, Austin Eckler of the LA Chargers. In 2021, he played in 16 games, only missed 1 game due to having COVID, running back number 2 in half PPR, running back number 3 in half PPR points per game. I feel as though in 2022, COVID is going to have maybe no effect on the season. It didn't have any effect on the playoffs. Maybe it will have a slight effect, but 2021, there was a lot of players getting COVID. I don't think in 2022 it will be that bad. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, but that's just my opinion based upon how I have seen things play out last season. So 206 carries on the season, 12.9 per game, ranking 14th at running back, 611 rushing yards, 56.9 per game, 12th at running back, 94 targets, 5.9 per game, number 1 at running back, 70 receptions, 4.4 per game, number 2 at running back. The 94 targets is actually tied with Najee Harris at number 1. He had 647 receiving yards, 40.4 per game, number 1 at running back, and 20 total touchdowns, tied with Mr. Jonathan Taylor, number 1 at the running back position. So Austin Eckler is basically the reverse version of Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry, meaning that so much of Austin Eckler's value hinges on the receiving game. Now, does this mean that Austin Eckler is some piss-poor running back when you hand him the ball? When Justin Herbert hands him the ball, he sucks? No, not the case at all. He's not just this third down running back. He is this amazing running back all around. But again, a lot of his value does come from the targets. It comes from the receptions because he could potentially get, in my opinion, if he has his best season, his peak, he could easily get 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. And that doesn't even sound that crazy to me. Maybe it does to you, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if in 2022, maybe it's not that year, maybe in 2023, he gets 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. He is just that talented of a player. And when you're talking about a focal point in the offense, I understand they've got Keenan Allen, they've got Mike Williams, they have these other players, but Austin Eckler is so involved on this team. Justin Herbert, the pervert, loves to dump the ball off the way of Austin Eckler. And I think in 2021, Austin Eckler will put up yet another fine performance. Running back 2.5 PPR, running back number 3 in half PPR points per game last year. Very similar to what I see him doing in 2022. But before we got into my 4th ranked running back, I'd like to let you guys know about our sponsor of today's video, and that is Underdog Fantasy. I'm pointing at it right now, even though I got my see-through Miami Dolphins shirt because it's green and I've got a green screen behind me. With that said, though, our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, is known for their NFL best ball tournaments. However, Underdog doesn't stop there. Underdog has plenty of other contests for you to compete in, including live draft contests and pick'ems where you can make up to 20 times your entry fee. Use promo code AWESEMO right here where I'm pointing to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 and get started on Underdog Fantasies today. I legitimately do a lot of Underdog Fantasy football drafts. I love doing it because I don't want to join 100 fantasy football leagues, but I'm fine joining 100 best ball leagues because I don't have to manage my team. I don't have to set the waivers every fucking Tuesday and be pissed off trying to do that for 100 leagues. This is why I like playing best ball leagues. So if you guys want to check it out, please make sure that you do so. And if you want to see what a draft is like in best ball, you can check out my videos from the last week. I did at least 2 drafts on my channel thus far, and there will be many more going forward into the fantasy football offseason as we get closer to August. It's already almost February, March. It's almost April. It's almost April. And then you know what comes after April? May, and then June, July, and August, and then bam, we're in September. That's how the months work. I know that might have been a little bit complicated for you guys. Definitely so. 2021 stats from our number 4 ranked running back, Najee Harris, running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee Harris. Najee Harris in 17 games was the running back 4.5 PPR, running back 9.5 PPR points per game with a watered-down Pittsburgh Steelers offense and offensive line, 307 carries, 18.1 per game, ranking 2nd at running back, 1,200 rushing yards, on the dot, 70.6 per game, ranking 4th at running back, 94 targets, number 1 at running back, 5.5 per game, 74 receptions, 4.4 per game, number 1 at running back, 467 receiving yards, 27.5 per game, number 3 at running back, and 10 total touchdowns, number 8 at the running back position. Najee Harris did a lot while given a little. Now, in the past, you remember Le'Veon Bell, you remember James Conner. These are guys that are good running backs, but they had an excellent situation in Pittsburgh. That's not what it was in 2021 for Najee Harris. And despite the offensive line being not great, not very nice, I do not like, my name is Borat, and they did not have a great offensive line. Big Ben was a shell of himself, and yet Najee Harris still performed. But Nick, what if Kissing Titties Mitchell Trubisky doesn't dump the ball off as much as Big Ben? Then it's fine because he's still going to get 300 and plus carries, right? So he'll be just fine. Maybe he doesn't have as excellent of a season, but maybe Mitch Trubisky dumps the ball off the exact same rate because Mike Tomlin knows how to get running backs involved in this offense, and Najee Harris is going to flourish. But Nick, maybe it won't even be Mitch Trubisky. Maybe they draft Malik Willis and they play him as well. Just fine as well. I don't give a fuck who the quarterback is. The quarterback's going to be better than Big Ben, even if I go out there. So I like Najee Harris a ton in 2022. He showed me so much in 2021 as to why you want to buy in on him. I wouldn't be surprised if people have him ranked higher than number 4, but for me, he's number 4 behind Mr. Austin Eckler. At number 5, this is where things start to get a little bit controversial potentially, because some people are thinking, Nick, where's Christian McCaffrey? Well, he's number 5. 2021, he played in 7 games, running back 39.5 PPR, running back 8.5 PPR points per game. He had 99 carries, 14.1 per game. I'm not even going to read out the finish at the running back position because he only played in 7 games. Of course, he's not going to finish high at the running back position. 442 rushing yards, 63.1 per game, 41 targets, 5.9 per game, 37 receptions, 5.3 per game, 343 receiving yards, 49 per game, 2 total touchdowns. So, if you draft Christian McCaffrey, you have to understand the immense risk that is packaged in with this man. Now, he is probably, pound for pound, the best running back in the NFL for fantasy football, because this guy is another running back just like Austin Eckler, maybe even just like Najee Harris, who you could easily see getting over 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. You can easily see it. The issue is that this guy keeps getting hurt, and I don't know how many years in a row I could be fooled by this, because when you're looking at it, you're looking at the stats, you know how good this man could be if he's healthy, right? Running back 8.5 PPR points per game, even that number is kind of skewed negatively because he got hurt so early in a couple of games. The issue is the Carolina Panthers are so fucking stupid. The guy gets hurt, and then they don't just tease him back in, right? They don't just slowly ramp up the carries until he's ready. No, they fucking put him in there, like, basically, like, without using any lube, right? They just throw him out there full out. They throw him in there dry. It makes no sense. And he keeps getting hurt. They're basically what a doctor explained to me last season, Dr. Edwin Porras, is that, look, he'll be doing nothing, right? So he actually, this is how you should describe it. He's going up on top, right? He's getting a zillion carries, a zillion targets. Then he gets hurt, and then he goes down to 0, right? He's doing nothing. He's rehabbing. And then he comes back, and it's not like, oh, maybe now he gets 14 carries per game like last year. Maybe let's give him 7. No. Let's give him fucking 22 carries. That's what the team does. It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. At all. Again, I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, but I'm worried about Christian McCaffrey. Again, if he's healthy, he's a league winner. He's a best ball league winner. He could win you the $1 zillion on Underdog, but there's also he could fuck everything up because he gets hurt. At number 6, we got Dalvin Cook, running back of the Minnesota Vikings, Chef Dalvin. 2021 stats, 13 games played, running back 15.5 PPR, running back 11.5 PPR points per game, 249 carries, 19.2 per game, ranking 5th at running back, 1,159 rushing yards, 89.2 per game, ranking 5th at running back, 49 targets, 3.8 per game, 26th at running back, 34 receptions, 2.6 per game, 30th at running back, 224 receiving yards, 17.4 per game, ranking 37th at running back, 6 total tugs, number 27 at running back. So if you draft Dalvin Cook, whether this is redraft or in best ball leagues, you best believe that you should be drafting Alexander Mattison, because Alexander Mattison is basically Dalvin Cook 2.0. When Dalvin Cook goes down, Mattison goes in and puts up similar numbers, maybe sometimes even better numbers than what Dalvin Cook would have done. They give him a full workhorse load. Dalvin Cook is the true workhorse. When he gets hurt, Madison's the full workhorse. 13 games played. This man, I don't think, has ever completed a full season in the NFL, and if he has, it was just once. He always gets hurt. Now, he's not missing like a zillion games, but he's missing a couple of games, and that hurts. So if you're drafting Dalvin Cook, just like with Christian McCaffrey, you have to bake in the risk of him getting injured, and that's why he's running back 6. Talent-wise, he's a great running back, but he's running back 6 because he always gets banged up, and he also doesn't get a lot of receptions. At number 7, we have Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. 2021 stats, 13 games played, running back 8.5 PPR, running back number 5.5 PPR points per game. Now, the quarterback situation in New Orleans is also one of those where the book is still kind of open on it. The book has probably been shut on Ian Book, seems like on Taysom Hill as well, but it could be, now Deshaun Watson's a Cleveland Brown, so it can't be him. Could be famous Jameis, eat a W Winston, could be Baker Mayfield, could be Matt Ryan, could be Mayfield Rivers comes out of retirement, could be anyone. And whoever it ends up being will impact how I think Kamara will do, but not as much as it used to, because Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston was huge for me. If Taysom Hill was the starting quarterback all of 2021, I would have ran so far away from Alvin Kamara, because Taysom Hill doesn't like to dump the ball off. He just doesn't. He doesn't. but Jameis does, all these other quarterbacks will. So hopefully whoever it is will dump the ball off to Alvin Kamara. Again, running back 8.5 PPR, running back 5.5 PPR points per game, 240 carries, 18.5 per game, 6th at running back, 898 rushing yards, 69 per game. Very nice. I like number 14 at running back, 67 targets, 5.2 per game, 9th at running back, or 6th at running back, I apologize, 47 receptions, 3.6 per game, 9th at running back, 439 receiving yards, 33.8 per game, 7th at running back, and 9 total tugs, 14th at the running back position. So he had a solid year in 2021. He has been a running back that has been a perennial top 5 guy in fantasy football drafts. He's a guy that you know can be the number 1 running back in fantasy football. He is dangerous when it comes to the receiving game as well as the rushing game. Another one of those running backs that you can see getting 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. The team is on a downward spiral, so they're not as good of a team as they were in the past with Drew Brees, but they're still just fine, and Alvin Kamara is a key piece in this offense. And if Michael Thomas comes back and is healthy, maybe that even opens up the field even more for Mr. Alvin Kamara. At number 8, we have Javonte Williams, and Javonte Williams' stock, in my mind, is plummeting down bad. Like, his stock just keeps falling. Every single day Melvin Gordon is on this team. Now, I know, but Nick, they're going to get rid of Melvin Gordon. They're not going to cuck Javonte Williams with Melvin Gordon again. What is telling you that? Because nothing I have seen has told me for a fact that Melvin Gordon is going to be gone. And it's annoying because if Melvin Gordon's gone, Javonte Williams could be a top 5 running back, but with Melvin Gordon there, I drop him even further. He's not running back 8 if he's there. I'll tell you that much. He's not. He's outside the top 12 in my book. 2021 stats, 17 games, running back 17.5 PPR, running back 28.5 PPR points per game, tied with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 203 carries, 11.9 per game, 15th at running back, 903 rushing yards, 53.1 per game, 13th at running back, 53 targets, 3.1 per game, 17th at running back, 43 receptions, 2.5 per game, 13th at running back. He had 316 receiving yards, 18.6 per game, 18th at running back, and 7 total touchdowns, 21st at running back. So he's a good player. Very good player. Phenomenal player, I might add. But in, what would you say the opposite to phenomenal is? Fucking terrible? Fucking awful? He's in a putrid situation in Denver. Now, with Russell Wilson there and everything, it's not that the team's bad. I'm just saying, if Melvin Gordon is still there, there is no reason that you should be believing that Javonte Williams is going to magically become 65% of the snaps. Right? 65% of touches. I don't even think that happens. Some people will claim that he could become a workhorse with Melvin Gordon there. That's not going to happen. I don't even think he's going to get a dominating amount, 50 Shades of Grey style, of the work in this backfield. And that worries me. Again, if Melvin Gordon's gone, if I upload this video tomorrow, or today when you're watching this, and then tomorrow, Melvin Gordon is gone, then boom, Javonte Williams to the moon. But right now, where we're sitting, I don't think I could speak super positively about Javonte Williams until that is the case. At number 9, we got Joe Mixon, running back of the Bengals. 2021 stats, played in 16 games, with the running back number 3.5 PPR, 4.5 PPR points per game. He had 292 carries, 18.3 per game, ranking 3rd at running back, 1,205 rushing yards, 75.3 per game, ranking 3rd at running back, 48 targets, 3.0 per game, ranking 28th at running back, 42 receptions, 2.6 per game, ranking 16th at running back, and 16 total tugs, number 4 at the running back position. So Joe Mixon had a great 2021 campaign with a subpar offensive line. So you might be thinking, Nick finishes the running back 3 last year. The offensive line is getting better, right? So why is he ranked lower? That's not adding up. And why he's ranked lower is not because I think Joe Mixon's going to fall off the edge of the earth. It's because there are so many good running backs in the NFL that guys like Joe Mixon have to get buried. And he was heavily reliant on the touchdown stat. 16 total touchdowns, 4th at running back. Not much of a receiving back. Again, he's the workhorse back in Cincinnati. The team is going to be just as good as last year, and the running system should be better with a better offensive line. And I technically here have to say, but there really is no but in this situation, right? There's no big but like Kim Kardashian. It's more of just like, but there's other running backs that are good. So Joe Mixon maybe scores 10 touchdowns, and he's not running back 3. He's running back 9. So still a solid pick. I still like Joe Mixon. I've always liked Joe Mixon. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, I always talk positively about Joe Mixon, but it's just there's a lot of other running backs better than him. That's just kind of my opinion on that. Maybe you think I'm dumb, But that's just how I feel, baby. Number 10, we got 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, running back of the Cleveland Browns, 2021, 14 games played, running back 11.5 PPR, 10.5 PPR points per game, 228 carries, 16.3 per game, ranking 8th at running back, 1,259 rushing yards, 89.9 per game, ranking 2nd at running back, 25 targets, 54th at running back, 20 receptions, 55th at running back, 174 receiving yards, 47th at running back, 9 total tugs, and 14th at running back. Now, seems like Chubb, this is going to be his last year. One last ride for, not Nick Chubb, I should say. One last ride for Kareem Hunt here in Cleveland. So going forward, maybe we're higher on Nick Chubb. But right now, I don't think you can rank Nick Chubb much higher than I have him, knowing what is going to inevitably happen in Cleveland. They bring in Deshaun Watson. They're trading Baker Mayfield. Deshaun Watson is going to get suspended. He's going to get suspended. How long will that suspension be? I don't know. My best guess, 8 games. They suspend him 8 games. And now you're dealing with who as the quarterback? We don't know right now. Who's going to be the backup quarterback? Whoever it ends up being, that hurts Nick Chubb's value. Once Deshaun Watson comes back, maybe those final 8-9 games, right, when he comes back, then chef's kiss, man, you freak, Nick Chubb is in a great situation. Because the team's going to be moving the ball a lot. They're going to be scoring a lot of tugs. Because Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But again, the issue is that Kareem Hunt is still there to take away all of the receptions. When Kareem Hunt gets hurt, they don't just throw Nick Chubb into this dominating role. They still kind of hold him back by playing Dearness Johnson. And then you're in this situation where there's no great quarterback for the first couple of weeks. And while they might rely on the run game, defenses can figure shit out like that. So Nick Chubb, good running back, nothing against him. But just only running back 10 for me. Number 11, we got DeAndre Swift, running back of the Detroit Lions. But before we dive deep into Mr. Swift, we're about halfway into the video. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button if you've enjoyed. And make sure if you want to head on over to Underdog, use promo code AWESEMO. Again, promo code AWESEMO. It's on your screen right now. And you will get up to a $100 deposit bonus. At number 11, we have DeAndre Swift, 2021, plays at 13 games, running back 19.5 PPR, 13.5 PPR points per game, 151 carries, 11.6 per game, ranking 30th at running back, 617 rushing yards, 47.5 per game, ranking 30th at running back, 78 targets, 4th at running back, 62 receptions, 4th at running back, 452 receiving yards, 34.8 per game, 5th at running back, and 7 total touchdowns, 21st at running back. DeAndre Swift, I thought that Jamal Williams was going to potentially be an issue for DeAndre Swift last year. That was not true. It's not true at all. They clearly love DeAndre Swift. The issue is, once again, this is going to be a bad team. It's going to be a bad team. And especially at the running back position, you kind of want your guy to be on a team that is competitive. And the Lions might be that in 2022, but they're not going to have this huge leap. And it's not like they have this elite offensive line either. Swift gets so much value from the targets, the receptions, that's why he's still in the top 12, because I can just see Goff or whoever the quarterback is in 2022. That doesn't seem like a situation that's set in stone right now either. So whoever the quarterback ends up being, they're going to throw the ball to DeAndre Swift. He is a key piece inside of this offense. It's just that I don't really see him having that top 5 season in fantasy football just yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, he's still a top 12 running back in my ranking, so it doesn't mean that he sucks or anything, but I just don't have these high praises to sing of DeAndre Swift. And number 12, we have Cameron Akers, running back of the Los Angeles Rams. In 2021, he played in 1 game in the regular season after he tore his Achilles. So he got hurt in, was it training camp or preseason? One or the other. Man, tears his Achilles. And somehow this motherfucker is literally built like Wolverine. And he was able to return during the season and was a key piece on paper because he was getting a lot of targets, but he wasn't necessarily the reason why they were winning those games and ultimately won the Super Bowl, but he was given the opportunity. In the playoffs, he was utilized as the lead back, and we should obviously see that in 2022. During the 2020 season, he became the lead back on the LA Rams from week 13 onward, and it was great to see those flashes that we saw of him. And I think in 2022, we are going to see a lot of flash. Coming off that Achilles injury, he played good 6-7 months later, so imagine how good he's going to play a year later. So I'm very much in on the Cam Akers bandwagon in 2022. They have a great team. They're going to be a team that is going to be very competitive again, which is great for the running back position. So I like Cam Akers a ton. They're going to use the other running backs on the team. Cam Akers might not necessarily be this huge workhorse running back, seeing a million targets, receptions, rushes, just like a CMC when he's healthy. But Cam Akers is still a very valuable running back for fantasy football, so I like him at number 12. At number 13, we move to David Montgomery, running back of the Chicago Bears in 2021. He played in 13 games with the dumb motherfucker Matt Nagy is the head coach, running back number 21.5 PPR and 15.5 PPR points per game, tied with Ezekiel Elliott and Damian Harris. He had 225 rushes, 17.3 per game, ranking 9th at running back, 849 rushing yards, 65.3 per game, ranking 17th at running back, 51 receptions, 3.9 per game, 23 at running back, 42 receptions, 3.2 per game, 16th at running back, 301 receiving yards, 23.2 per game, 23rd at running back, and 7 total touchdowns, number 21 at running back. And the reason why I poke fun at Mr. Matt Nagy is because I hate Matt Nagy. The guy's a fucking buffoon. The defense, not as good anymore in Chicago, which was one of my stronger points on Montgomery earlier on, before they got rid of Khalil Mack, before they got rid of these other players. So their defense is a bit watered down, which it does hurt a little bit of my argument for why I like David Montgomery so much. But I think I'm not too sold in that their new head coach, Eberflus, if that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, but I'm not sold that this guy is like Bill Belichick 2.0, some fucking genius, like Sean McVay, one of those kind of guys. But anything is better than that dunce Matt Nagy. David Montgomery is by far and away the best player on this team. They don't have Al Robinson anymore. He just has to be the best player on paper. He is in a pretty solid situation to succeed, and I think Justin Fields takes the next step up. And I think if they give David Montgomery the correct usage here, he could easily finish inside of the top 12. At number 14, we move to Mr. Aaron Jones, running back of the Packers in 2021. Aaron Jones played in 15 total games, finishing as the running back 12.5 PPR and the running back number 14 in half PPR. He had 171 carries, 11.4 per game, ranking 24th at running back, 799 rushing yards, 53.3 per game, ranking 21st at running back, 65 targets, 4.3 per game, ranking 7th at running back, 52 receptions, 3.5 per game, ranking 6th at running back, 391 receiving yards, 26.1 per game, ranking 10th at running back, and 10 total touchdowns, ranking 8th at the running back position. While those numbers that I just read off don't sound all that bad, I had high hopes for Aaron Jones in 2021, and it didn't pay off. They used A.J. Dillon more than I thought. But now that Devontae Adams is gone, they're probably going to draft some other players, but I think that may increase Aaron Jones' likelihood to see even more targets. But with A.J. Dillon being there, I think it's a little bit crazy to rank him inside the top 12. I like the player. I like that he's on the Packers. I just don't love that A.J. Dillon is there. So that's kind of my breakdown on Aaron Jones. At number 15, we move to Mr. James Conner, running back of the Arizona Cardinals. Just got a fat, shiny new deal in Arizona, and Chase Edmonds is now gone. Does that mean that they're not going to draft a running back? They're not going to bring someone else in? No, but I think James Conner will be the lead back, and deservedly so after the last season. Played in 15 games with the running back 5.5 PPR on the season, running back 6.5 PPR points per game. He had 202 carries, 13.5 per game, ranking 17th at running back, 752 rushing yards, 50.1 per game, ranking 24th at running back, 39 targets, 2.6 per game, 37th at running back, 37 receptions, 2.5 per game, 27th at running back, 375 receiving yards, 11th at the running back position, and 18 total touchdowns, 3rd at running back. So he had a phenomenal season, definitely compared to what the thoughts of most were on James Conner. Now, I was someone who was pretty high on James Conner. Now, I'm not saying that I was like at the peak, like, oh, this guy's going to be a top 5 running back. No, I didn't think that. I don't think anyone thought that. But what I thought was that Chase Edmonds is going so far ahead of him that it almost makes no sense as to why you draft him and not just wait on James Conner. And Conner was clearly the better back out of the two, which is why Chase Edmonds got ran out of town, and James Conner is the number 1 running back on the team. He does have pretty solid pass-catching prowess, which we saw in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. So I think if James Conner is put in this situation as the lead back, as I believe he fucking deserves, then he is going to be seeing a buttload of targets, many more than 39, probably closer to the 50, 60 mark in 2022. And that's going to be chef's kiss for James Conner. You could honestly rank him above Aaron Jones, and I definitely would not dispute that. And maybe I'll eventually end up moving that. I do like Aaron Jones a lot talent-wise. It's just Fucking AJ Dillon, man. At number 16, we have Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team. 2021 stats, played in 16 games, running back 10.5 PPR, 19.5 PPR, 258 carries, 16.1 per game, fourth at running back, 1,037 rushing yards, 64.8 per game, sixth at running back, 52 targets, 42 receptions, 294 receiving yards, and 10 total tugs, 8th at running back. The issue with Antonio Gibson is not Antonio Gibson. The issue is the fact that J.D. McKissic basically slapped us in the face. He walked away from the team. He's like, I'm gone. I'm not going to Washington. I'm going to Buffalo. Toodaloo, motherfucker. And he walks away. And then he has this epiphany like he's Drake, and it cost him 50 at Tiffany's. And he's almost there. Shout out Tiffany Stephanie. He's walking to Buffalo. And he realizes, man, why would I want to ring when I could be annoying to everyone who has Antonio Gibson? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Now J.D. McKissic hit an RKO from out of nowhere on Antonio Gibson. Now, does it mean that he tanks and can't be a top 12 running back? No, but he sucks up a lot of that receiving value that Gibson could potentially have. And last year, Riverboat Ron Rivera seemed like he had no clue what to do. Like, some weeks it's the Antonio Gibson season. Then out of nowhere, even after Antonio Gibson's putting up these big numbers, then like the next game, J.D. McKissic magically has way more touches, way more receptions, way more rushing attempts, and he's like the goal line back despite being 4'3". It makes no sense. So that just catapulted Antonio Gibson down the rankings. At number 17, we have Saquon Barkley, perennial top 5 pick, no longer. Saquon Barkley of the Giants, maybe not of the Giants in 2022, though. Still up in the air. 2021 stats, 13 games played. Nick, why do you say he might not be a Giant? Because there's a lot of rumors, a lot of news spreading about the fact that he could be traded. Running back 32.5 PPR, 33.5 PPR points per game, which is not what you wanted when you drafted him inside of the first round. 162 carries, 12.5 per game, 26th at running back, 593 rushing yards, 45.6 per game, 35th at running back, 57 targets, 4.4 per game, 12th at running back, 41 receptions, 20.2 per game. That's not true. 2.02 per game. Maybe that's not true either. Definitely not 20.2 per game, though. Number 29th at running back. He had 263 receiving yards, 20.2 per game, 29th at running back, and 4 total touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, last season, bent you over a table, inserted his cock into your ass, and didn't even have the common courtesy to spit on it. Saquon Barkley fucked you over. Saquon Barkley's done it 2 years in a row now. Saquon Barkley, we all knew going into the season that he was going to be on this minutes restriction, this snap count, and no one believed me. Everyone was being a bit of a buffoon, and they were drafting him so highly, and he sucked ass in 2022. They got a new coach in New York. Maybe he's the lead running back in New York. Maybe he gets traded somewhere else, but I don't want Saquon Barkley. I don't want him in the top 12. I don't want him in the top 24 picks of the draft. Now he's running back 17. I'll take him in the 3rd round, but I understand the risk that he might get hurt and the fact that the Giants are just a shitty team. But Nick, they fired Joe Judge. They've got Brian Dable. Maybe that does turn everything around, but for now, I can't be sold in on Saquon Barkley, and I don't think you should be either. At number 18, we've got a rookie who has not been drafted yet, Breece Hall, free agent. Went to Iowa State. He had back-to-back 1,400-plus yard seasons with over 20 touchdowns in each of those 2 seasons. He has pass-catching abilities, not the second coming of Austin Eckler or something, but he has pass-catching abilities, and he ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. Breece Hall can be moved as high as a top 10 back if he gets drafted to the correct team, and will move as low as outside of the top 24 if he lands in a not-so-optimal situation. You can draft Breece Hall wherever you want because, like, realistically, right, if you're drafting him at running back 18, which is close to his ADP, and he gets drafted to a team where he's the lead back, then bada bing, bada boom, he might end up as a top 10 running back pick. But if he doesn't end up that way, then maybe you made a bad pick at 18, and that's kind of just how I feel about him. I didn't even want to include him, but since you can draft him in underdog, you have to include him. At number 19, I got Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys, 2021, played in 17 games. It felt like this guy didn't play in like half of those games. If you remember last season, it just didn't feel like that. Running back 6.5 PPR, 15.5 PPR points per game, tied with Damian Harris and David Montgomery. 237 carries, 13.9 per game, 7th at running back. 1,002 rushing yards, 58.9 per game, 7th at running back. 65 targets, 3.8 per game, 7th at running back. 47 receptions, 2.8 per game, 9th at running back. 287 receiving yards, 16.9 per game, 27th at running back. And 12 total touchdowns, 6th at running back. But Nick, he was banged up all of last season. That's why he didn't play that well. So, yeah, he was. But the team doesn't show enough commitment to him. They paid him all this money. They paid him $1 zillion a couple years ago. And they still don't show a strong commitment to him. And I don't think we're going to see that either in 2022. Is he better than Tony Pollard? Yes. But by how much? Not a lot. And I don't know, man. This team was so out of whack last year that it's hard to even look at what happened last year for Dallas, because there was games where Dak looked like amazing, right? Or he looked like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, maybe the best quarterback in the NFL. And then there was other games where this guy looked like he couldn't even fucking see, like he was Stevie Wonder in the pocket. So again, a low ranking for Ezekiel Elliott. Maybe it moves up as the offseason ramps on and I feel a little bit more confident about him. But right now, I don't have a lot of confidence in Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. Closing in the top 20, my final player to discuss in today's video, after being 30 plus minutes in, JK, Mr. Just Kidding Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. He missed all of 2021 after tearing his ACL in the preseason, but we'll look at his 2020 stats to see how he performed. Funny enough, not even funny at all, actually. Every running back on the Ravens got hurt like last year. That was crazy. 2020 stats, 15 games played, running back 21.5 PPR, 30.5 PPR points per game, tied with Salvin Ahmed. 134 carries, 8.9 per game, 33rd at running back, 805 rushing yards, 53.7 per game, 16th at running back, 24 targets, 1.6 per game, 49th at running back, 18 receptions, 50th at running back, 120 receiving yards, 57th at running back, 9 total touchdowns, 16th at running back. In 2020, though, it is fair to tell you that he was not the lead back on the team for a lot of those games. The thing is that I don't feel as though Baltimore is a team that is truly going to fully give the push, give the oomph to J.K. Dobbins, where they're fully going to commit to giving him the amount of targets, touches he needs to become a top 10 running back. That's why he's running back 20. Now, he's a guy that I loved all of last offseason. So don't be surprised if you're watching my rankings video in June or maybe even in May and he's skyrocketing up the rankings, right? But right now, I'm definitely tempering my expectations on J.K. Dobbins based upon Lamar Jackson as well and how that dynamic works with the running back positions. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button down below. Make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy, link in the description again, promo code AWESOMO to get a first match deposit bonus up to $100. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, goodbye.